Hello and welcome to All Ears English. So, in this episode today, Michelle and I are talking about the phrase mind over matter. It's a very common phrase in American culture. So, we're going to show you what it actually means, where we apply it as native speakers in English, and how you can use it too to have interesting conversations about challenges that we all face in our lives. Guys, please go ahead and hit subscribe on this channel to get more podcast episodes right here. Enjoy the episode, guys, and thank you so much for listening to All Ears English. Hey, Michelle, how you doing today? Oh my gosh, we are here and seeing each other. This is amazing.
Hey, Lindsay, I am good. Yeah, this is definitely different. I'm fiddling with my hair already. Oh my goodness.
It's so different. Yeah. So to let our listeners know what's going on, we are experimenting by putting this episode on YouTube. So if you come over on YouTube and check it out, you can actually see us on camera. Michelle, we've been podcasting together for 6 years. I've never seen you. No, that's a lie. I have seen you.
Yes, we have seen each other, but this is definitely new and exciting. And yeah, I was telling Lindsay like, oh my gosh, my hair, and I already have one hanging here, but I can't play with it the whole time. So guys, you're just going to have to deal with this one that's hanging down here, and you'll have to be okay with that.
It's okay. I think they're okay. I think they're excited about it. So, Michelle, what are we getting into in today's episode? I think we're talking about the human mind a little bit. Is that right?
Yes. Today we are talking about the expression mind over matter.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about this episode because I think that that's a really important expression. And it was actually from Tameen from Iran, who asked the other day, we did déjà vu.
Yes, I remember that episode.
One?
That was a good one.
Yes.
That was a good one.
And another expression that Tameen asked about was mind over matter. So I wanted to just go ahead and do this one right away as well. So Tameen, great questions in general. Yeah. So we're going to talk about mind over matter today, Lindsay.
Yeah, I feel like this is an expression that's very much embedded in our culture, right? And it's kind of empowering in some ways, right?
Right.
I mean, what does it actually mean? Yeah.
Well, I mean, in general, Lindsay, it's about how powerful is the human mind when you're going through difficult situations. This is about the power in your mind to overcome things, right? Even physical things. I mean, what does this mean to you, Lindsay?
This kind of means that to me, it's kind of woven into our culture as well, right? The narrative of American culture, whether it's true or not, we could debate that another day, is pull yourself up by your bootstraps, focus on something. And if you try hard enough, if you want it badly enough, you can achieve it, right? That's kind of the idea. And I think that's kind of what this means. What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, I agree that you can do what you set your mind to, which is kind of another expression. It's like you can overcome things. Even if something is difficult, you can do it if you use the power of your mind. And this is about, remaining strong. It's about having this tough mentality. And it's about, it makes me think of the word resilience. And I feel like that's kind of a powerful word, especially nowadays.
I love that word.
Lindsay?
Oh my gosh. Resilience means you have the ability to overcome things, to bounce back from adversity, right?
Right. Exactly. And, it's hard to not think of, what's going on in the world when we hear this expression mind over matter, right, Lindsay?
Oh, for sure. Right now, I mean, the whole world is going through, I think this is probably the toughest year of since I've been around, right? I'm 39. Since I've been on Earth, it's the toughest year I've ever seen in history. There's so much going on with the pandemic. Crime is up in major cities, and it's just a tough time. But if we can be resilient, we can kind of rise above it, I guess. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I definitely think of the pandemic and just all the other distress that's going on in our country, with race and all these problems, unfortunately. And I think that in these times, we do kind of have to remind ourselves as best we can, mind over matter. And if you kind of say that to yourself, in a way, you can have this positive, powerful feeling. It's a feeling of empowerment to be like, no, I can take the situation that I'm in and I can rise above it, even though it's hard, even though it's awful, right?
Yeah. So, Michelle, when it comes to this phrase, just to break it down, what do we mean when we say matter? What exactly is that for our listeners in case we're not sure? What does
It,
that mean?
yeah, that's a good question. I feel like it's kind of a general. It's a
Yeah.
general word here. I mean, the mind is obvious, but matter. It's like what matters, like what's going on, or matter. Maybe they're thinking of it matter in a scientific way.
I
Like
think so. Yeah.
yeah, the matter of actually what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's the physical or the physical circumstances, like the actual
Right.
events of life. It's like,
Right.
what you can do with your mind. If you can harness your mind and move it in the right direction, you can overcome what your actual circumstances. But this is so hard. I feel like a lot of people would look at this quote and think, "Oh, that's just not true."
Mm,
Right? Because there are parts of the world that are just hurricanes and tornadoes
yeah.
and earthquakes and all these types of catastrophic events that are hard to overcome, hard to come back from.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also makes me think of, I mean, sometimes you hear these incredible stories of people who are going through terrible illnesses and
Yeah,
they somehow keep this positive attitude and
yeah,
they're so strong and resilient and somehow they get past it. I mean,
yeah.
so sometimes you think of it also with actual physical health,
Oh my
not
gosh,
like just
that's a good.
emotional, right? So maybe you're injured, or maybe you're going through an illness, or you might say to yourself, "Mind over matter," to try and get through it. I mean,
That's a
and I
good.
don't think it always works for sure, but I think it's a good, like it's kind of a good thing expression to go by to remind yourself of that.
Oh, for sure. I remember when I was a kid, we used to go skiing at this little mountain, and we would always, this mountain where I learned to ski as a kid also had a big program for handicapped skiers, meaning
Hmm.
skiers that they ride lower on the mat. If their legs aren't working, they're actually in like a small sled and they move the sled. And that's a form of skiing. And I always admired them because I knew how hard it was to learn to ski with both legs functioning. And looking at
Wow.
them, I was like, wow, I have mind over matter. I mean, you can do that, right? You can teach yourself to do
Yeah.
amazing things, even if you have the cards stacked against you. It's incredible. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love that story. That's really inspiring. Yeah, I think it's kind of an inspiring and inspirational expression.
Yeah.
I think that it's really helpful. I mean, if you're going to use it in a
Mhm.
sentence, you might say something like, "Oh man, I'm so exhausted, but I want to exercise today. Mind over matter."
Yeah. So this doesn't have to be, guys, just about
No,
these catastrophic life events,
no, it
losing
doesn't. It
legs
doesn't. It
and
can be
things.
used in different ways as well.
Right. It can be used to talk ourselves into going to the gym or getting outside. I mean, these,
Yes.
these are conversations we have with ourselves every day. Even yesterday, I was like, I'll just take my dog for a walk. No, I should go for a jog. Mind over matter. Right.
Yeah.
That's the context.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, right. You're reminding yourself that you're strong. You're kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
come on, Lindsay, I can go for this jog, right?
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
it's like a pep talk for yourself. What's a pep
Yes.
talk?
Oh, pep talks, that is a great phrase. So the idea of encouraging ourselves, a little moment of encouragement, of pushing ourselves forward. If someone else can't do it for us, we have to be able to do it for ourselves, right?
Exactly. A pep talk, it could be that you give yourself a pep talk, but somebody else could give you a pep talk. Like I think
Yeah,
of like
a
a
coach.
football coach, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, like,
for
oh,
sure.
like we're gonna win this game. You guys can do it. Blah 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 blah.
That must
Right? That's a pep talk.
that must be where the phrase pep rally comes from. Did you used to have like pep
Ah,
rallies when you were in high school?
yes, we did. I remember just watching all the cheerleaders and being like, I can't do that. But I enjoyed the school spirit for sure.
Yeah, so guys, in the US, in American high schools, often you have before a homecoming game or a big football game, you'll have a Friday night pep rally where everyone, the whole school will come together and
Right.
they have cheerleaders and music and events just to get people excited and pepped up. That's a bonus phrase for our
Pep
listeners
talk.
today, Michelle, pepped up
Yes.
to compete and to win on Saturday.
Right.
So
Right.
typical, yeah.
Awesome. So now, yeah, pep rally. That's awesome. So yeah, again, reminding yourself that you're strong. And guys, this can definitely be relevant to your lives within language learning. I mean, other areas as well, I'm sure, but within language learning.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but I have a feeling, and in my own language learning experience, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by everything.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
very easy, right? And like, oh my gosh, I have to improve, blah blah blah. And I feel like this is a really good expression for all of us in language learning and learning anything when you feel overwhelmed. Because you have to realize how strong and resilient you are, and when you realize that and you remind yourself, you push yourself harder and you're able to go
Mm.
further. If you're saying, no, mind over matter, I can do this, right?
Yeah.
I think that you would actually go further than if you just said, okay, like a little more. I don't know. This I feel like this expression is very powerful.
Yeah. I think at the same time, though, we have to know our limits because I feel like now self-care is so important. So we have to find that balance between mind over matter. I'll push myself to my limits and then I'll know when I've hit my limit physically and I just need to rest, you know?
Yes, exactly. I mean, for me, for my life, I mean, mind over matter so goes along with being a new mom.
Oh
I
my God.
mean, I don't have any time for myself really anymore. The time it's not mine.
Wow.
But you have to power through, right? To keep going, to push yourself, even with no sleep, no rest, no me time. It's mind over matter, and it's just like one of those things. I remember before I had my son, before I was even pregnant, before I was even thinking of having kids, I would like my sister-in-law, she has two kids, my niece and
Yeah.
nephew, and she would get up so early with them. And I remember thinking, like, how do you do it? And she just said, you get used to it. And now here I am, like,
Yeah.
oh
Uh,
my gosh. But I mean, because you have no choice. I can't just say,
No.
like, oh, you go, like he
Yeah.
is not even two yet, like, bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have
Take care
no
of
choice.
yourself, kid.
Right. So I
Well,
do have to really be like very mentally strong to be able to take care of them when I'm not feeling totally up to it myself.
that's really hard. That must have taken time, or maybe you're still kind of dealing with it, right? To go through
Yeah.
with the acceptance of losing the me time. I would struggle with that a lot in the beginning, I think, for sure. You know what
I'm
I
still
mean? Like,
going through it. It definitely like,
yeah.
I don't always think about it, but for sure it is. I mean, there's no way around it. Like, I work, I take care of him, and I go to sleep. Like it's
Wow.
totally different. But, there are so many joys that go along with it as
There's
well.
so many joys, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
he's
that.
a cutie. But yeah, I mean, mind over matter. I mean, how does this phrase connect to your life, Lindsay? I mean, maybe something with business or with
Mm.
moving or lots of different changes you go through.
Yeah, well, if you think about it in the business space, you're building a new business, a
Yeah.
lot of it has to do with the way you think of things. We can't
Yeah.
do everything when we're trying to create something great, right? We can't address every little detail. So it's
Yeah.
about harnessing the mind to make the right decisions, I guess. That's how I would think about it in the business space.
Definitely.
And then, of course, there is always that thing when you start out, you just don't know, oh, geez, it feels like you're climbing up a mountain for the first five
Yeah.
years. Climbing up a mountain, pushing a rock up a mountain, right? Constantly having that feeling. But having
Yeah.
people around you that are going through the same thing is always good
Mm.
too. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that is important to have other people around you to lift you up, right?
yeah.
So it's like mind over matter, but also having a good support system.
Exactly. So is this something that our listeners could say just kind of if they're trying to support someone then just to say that to them to have them keep going, that sort of thing?
I believe so.
Mhm.
If somebody said like, "Oh, I really don't want to do that," like Lindsay, if you said, "Oh, I don't want to go on my jog," I could say like, "Come on, Lindsay, mind over matter. You can do it." You can kind of say it in that way,
Okay. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's just kind of something you say, like, "All
Yeah.
right, mind over matter."
So the
It's not
way
really
Mhm.
within like a separate, like within a sentence. I don't think.
I see. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I've heard natives use it that way for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's more of an idea. And there
Yeah.
are some other words, some other expressions that
Mhm.
we could use that go along with this idea. So the first one, Lindsay, is willpower.
Yes.
And we talked about this word in episode 1250, which was what are Michelle's two worst habits? So
What
listen to
were
that.
those 2 worst habits, by the way?
I don't remember. It was probably biting my nails
Yes, it was definitely biting your nails.
and maybe just not exercising, which is just like the biggest joke. I feel like listeners have been hearing me talk about exercising for the past 1,000 episodes.
1,000 episodes, lots of minutes of you talking about
Yeah,
not
I
maybe they're
yeah,
rooting for you, Michelle.
oh,
This is gonna be the year.
oh, it might have been my posture, which now I have to pay attention to. Although it's
Ah,
kind of
yes.
awkward with like the camera on the computer, so it's so funny. So guys, now you can catch me with my posture. So anyway, willpower, having like that, like, yeah, I can do it. I'm strong, right?
Yes. Yes. I love it. Willpower. Good word, guys. Good word. And then what else, Michelle? This phrase endurance, or a word, endurance. What does that mean? That's kind of similar to this, right?
Yeah, it's similar. It's like that you can endure things, that you can make it
Yeah.
through things. You can make it through things that are tough. And then obviously we talked about resilient, the word resilient as well. And then
Mhm.
Lindsay, we have one more.
Okay. This one, I have to be honest, I love this phrase.
Yeah.
It has a lot of meanings. So, having a backbone.
Yeah.
This has come up lately, actually, more in the area of politics. It kind of
Uh-huh.
means, in a sense, so it goes even beyond this topic. It ties into this, but it means standing up for what you believe in, right? If you, like, for example, a lot of people have said this year in politics, certain people have not had a backbone to stand up and
Yes.
say what needs to be said. Um,
Right.
Protect, certain institutions, right? In the United States, we won't get into that today, but
Yeah, yeah, that could be that's a whole can of worms,
a whole
Lindsay.
other thing. But I guess it does tie into mind over matter too, because if you know it's hard, you're going through something hard, but if you can harness your mind, you can kind of, sit up straight, have a backbone, and move through it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, guys, those are some other ways to talk about this idea of mind over matter.
Yes.
So yeah, Lindsay, oh my gosh, this is fun on YouTube. Guys, I feel like I need like, a name for this. I feel like I feel like I'm gonna name it,
Yeah.
Bob or something, this hair that comes out. So I hope that you've enjoyed hanging out with me, Lindsay, and Bob. So Lindsay, what do you think the takeaway is for today?
Guys, mind over matter is important. Honestly, it's the only way we get anything done in life, because I love that expression. If it's not, that idea of, if it's not, why do it if it's easy, right? Anything worth achieving is going to be hard. You're going to hit a moment where it's going to be difficult. So we have to keep this in mind over matter, to pave our way to that result that we want. Okay.
Yeah.
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 That's what I think. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I totally agree. And yeah, just, stay strong, stay resilient, even though I know we're all still going through, you know, this
Yeah.
pandemic. So definitely think about that when you're feeling rough about it. But yeah, we know that we have very resilient, strong listeners
For sure.
who are so committed to learning. And that's why we love you guys. So
Yeah.
definitely we know that mind over matter would apply to you.
Definitely. And I mean, this is a good question to leave our listeners with. Is this phrase cultural? I have a feeling it's very cultural, very kind of American, Western centric, right? If
Mm,
you are from Japan or China or another part of the world, do you have a translation of this phrase? And does it make sense in your culture? That's what we want to know, right? So, guys, come
definitely.
back to our blog. This is 1451. Come back to allearsenglish.com and let us know, okay? And go ahead and hit subscribe on YouTube if you're listening to this there, so that you can get more of these episodes over there. All right, guys.
Okay.
Awesome. Very cool, Michelle. Good
All right,
stuff.
Lindsay. I'll see you next time.
All right. Take care. Bye
All
bye.
right. Bye, guys.